Hey, as an indie creator, we all know every dollar counts, right? Well, duh. Think that that's why you're here. Well, today we are going to share 5 tips and personal strategies that we use on our projects that will surely help you stretch your project budget.
But first, is Netflix trying to dumb down content? We're not having it. Let's get into it.
Welcome to That's a Wrap. I'm Annette.
I'm Naomi.
And this is a podcast about film and television from a independent point of view. How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
I miss you, Wendy Williams. All right, let's jump into our first segment. We be talking
Netflix.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really? What?
Netflix. Like,
really?
Yeah. The title still stuns me, though.
Look, what can we say about it, Net? What can we say about it? So, look, maybe because we're from a certain generation where TV, like we were tuned in 24/7. We didn't really have any other distractions, right? But in this Netflix article, they're saying that executives at Netflix are going back to the writers and saying, yeah, you're going to have to change this content because they're very concerned that people are distracted while they're watching Netflix. They're not fully engaged in the story.
Because we're always doing something else. Okay.
Right? But not just doing something else. Like they're not worried about you cleaning the house or anything. They're saying you are on your phone and you're distracted.
Oh.
So they're not really, first of all, how do they know that you're on your phone? Like, I don't know how they know these things.
But it's, you know what? I think that also, and not to jump in, but it's that data that these streaming platforms do not share with anybody else. That's how they know.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think how they're tracking this is by seeing how many times or how people are like not finishing what they're watching. Right. Mm-hmm. It's just they clearly are stopping it, because if they just let it go, Netflix wouldn't know whether you were distracted or not. It's just playing. But it must be because people are stopping what they're watching and never come back to it. And I'm like, well, maybe it wasn't good. I don't know.
Yeah.
But this article is in PC Mag, January 2024, 2025. I forget. I think it was January of this year.
2024. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But I just thought it was very interesting that they're going to the actual creators of the story and saying, I'm going to need him to introduce himself as he's walking in or some crazy stuff like that, solely because they're thinking if you're not watching the screen, then you're going to miss out. And that's probably why you're tuning out. Does that, like, it's wild to me.
That's wild. And it's just really kind of crazy.
It is.
Because, so when I was reading, like we prepare for these, right? So when we come up with these topics, like Naomi and I, we do our research.
Right.
And so a couple of the articles that I was reading had the reoccurring note. And this is a direct quotation from the article. It says, the Netflix reoccurring note, have this character announce what they're doing so that viewers who have this program on in the background can follow.
If it's already in the background, then they've checked out.
Yeah. So that means let's just like play around with it. Uh-huh. So the character comes in, and it's just like, I just got out of my car, shut the door, came running in here. I almost tripped over your shoe. How many times do I have to tell you?
And I'm mad about it.
And I'm very upset.
Facts. Who is like, come on.
If I hear that, even if it's in the background, I'm saying to myself, why am I watching? Why is this on?
Because this is not radio. This is not an old serial that they used to hear on the radio. This is television. It's visual. If you are disconnected, I don't think there's anything that they can do to keep you connected. If you're distracted in any way, I mean, I just don't understand how announcing things is going to suddenly jar somebody like, oh, well, let me look up and start watching this again.
Yeah, I guarantee you if it's really, really good, they're going to stop whatever it is that they're doing.
Rewind.
And look at it. That's what I do.
I do it even when I'm engaged. I'm just like, oh, wait, what did I miss?
Yeah, what did I miss? Yeah, I'm always like tapping.
It's crazy. I mean, I think Netflix is crazy. It's all crazy.
But I'm more even concerned about, and what do you think? Do you think that this is cool? Like, you're a writer. What would you say if you received these notes?
Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine.
Right?
It doesn't seem right.
I mean, we would make the changes.
I mean,
right?
You gotta get paid.
You gotta get paid.
You gotta make money.
But then it says something about the quality of the shows.
I think so.
Right? And now I'm thinking about some of the things that I've seen, right? Like the Lindsay Lohan one.
I think they mentioned that in the article.
And because when I was reading through, I was like thinking about that because there were some instances in that Irish one, which I loved, but I was just like, yo, this is way too much. Like,
I'm coming inside.
Yeah. And it was just like way too many words. Yeah. And it was just like, what the heck?
Yeah.
How did that even get by?
But now we know.
I
just don't think that they can.
And shout out Lindsay Lohan. Like, that's my girl.
I just don't think that this can last long because Netflix has all kinds of TV shows, movies from other parts of the world. I mean, if you are listening and it's in a foreign language and you got to look at subtitles, you can be distracted. No. And if you are, you're not. I mean, if we're just focusing on sound, it's in a foreign language anyway. So,
but do you think that it's also one of those things where, like with Ready to Wear, they changed it Ready to Wear
from what was it? Porta pot party.
All right, so you know what? Listen, pret-a-porter. So then they were right. They were right to name it Ready to Wear. But if you make the audience, you can't coddle to your audience all the time.
No.
If you raise the bar, they're going to meet it.
And that's what they're doing. For me, the storytelling today is way more complex.
Right.
Which is fantastic because I think you're really kind of seeing the 365 degrees of characters, right? And what's happening in their stories. Mm-hmm. So I just don't know if this is something that's going to last. People are distracted, whether it's your phone, your kids, your spouse, whatever.
Life be life.
Life be lifing. So I think Netflix is like, just shut up and be happy that we're paying $500 a month for the membership, because that's what it feels like.
Oh my God.
It feels like it's $500.
Seriously.
Anyway, that's it.
Yeah, well,
that's all I got to say about it.
I really, I'm with you. I don't know if I have anything else to say. It's when they better not say nothing else about Tyler Perry then. If this is how it's going to be, don't say nothing about Tyler Perry.
And we'll leave it at that. We'll be back. Hey, everyone. We are back.
Hey, thanks for sticking around.
So before we get started with our next segment, I would just like to ask of you to do us a solid as we are trying to grow our That's a Wrap channel.
Yay!
We would love for you to like and subscribe and stay connected with us we are hopefully giving you what you need. So stick with us, stick with this channel, and ride along.
Yeah.
Just go on and ride along with us.
Sounds good.
All right.
Sounds good.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into the 5 things of what budget, right?
Ugh. Yeah.
We talk about budget. It's the very first thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the very first things. I have an idea.
Mm-hmm.
And then how much do you think that it's going to cost? So you have this script, you have, whether it's a short film, whether it's a web series.
Right.
And then you need to sit down with a line producer or someone to figure out that budget, right? And this is where all the planning comes.
Yes.
And it's not something that should be done
on the fly
or after, you know, the first shoot date.
Yeah.
It's prioritize your must-have expenses.
Yeah.
So line producer, the EP meet to create that budget. So you're going to focus on the essentials, right? Your crew, your cast, location, crafty, like all the things that you are going to need. And as you are building that, you also want to think about, which I think a lot of people don't, and I know we've learned from our mistakes, is when you're in development, you're also thinking about post-production.
Yes. I think that gets
very important.
Yeah.
Very important. Post-production.
Yeah. Because I think a lot of people in the excitement of, you know, we're going to, I got this whatever and I want to shoot it. In that excitement, I think people do forget about what happens after we're done shooting, right? And you really have to plan ahead for that. Yeah. Just like you're planning. That's why, you know, post-production is essential, unless you just got did it all while you were shooting and it's ready to go. But yeah,
because, you know, post-production is where the magic happens, right? So not only is it editing, it's color correction, it's what is that? Sound design and tweakings and all that other stuff, and then your VFX, and
it's so all the things
and it's pretty
coming
much
together. Yeah,
I would think about 60% of your budget.
Truly.
Like if you, depending on how well you want it to look.
Yeah.
If you want it to look gritty and grimy, like
guerrilla style.
Yeah, there it is. I was going to say,
I just shot it, and it's ready to go.
It's on Tubi. When Tubi, before Tubi, you know.
Yeah. Another thing, and I think is important, is equipment cost. I like the idea of using all avenues when it comes to equipment.
Yeah.
Rent equipment if you don't have equipment, borrow equipment, barter, whatever it takes, because sometimes you don't realize, oh snap, I think we could have really used the dolly on this, or oh snap, we forgot to turn the light on and now it's not working. How do we get lighting on this on the set? Like there's all kinds of things that can come up, even in pre-production and while you're in principal. So there's a level of flexibility that you need to have when it comes to equipment, but and I think one of the things that there are many things that you can do with rent, borrow, barter, but one of the things that I was thinking about is organizations that you could be a part of that may have equipment for you to use.
I mean, but it goes, it's all about network, right? It's building these relationships, being a part of organizations, you know, that we always talk about, that help you. And they might have a rental service that you could partake in, or someone in that organization might know where you can rent some equipment. But I agree with renting over buying.
Yeah.
Right?
If you have the budget to buy, then absolutely. But for a lot of us indies just starting out, it's like, okay, alternatives, other opportunities. Like that's what we're looking for, because we don't have 10, 15, 20,000 to get that gorgeous camera. So we're going to go and potentially find other ways to
and so like
have access.
So your
that's
crew
what you're really
members,
looking for, is access.
9 times out of 10, some of your crew members, especially if it's a DP, they have their own equipment.
Yep.
And you pay them their flat rate, but then also you're using their equipment, so you're paying a equipment
rent, like
a kit.
A kit fee,
right? And sometimes as indie creators, we just got the money for the flat rate. If you can pad it just a little bit extra, because you're using all their equipment, if you can, right? And then talk to them about it and let them know, like, yo, your flat rate is $650, but here I am giving you an extra $100 because of the kit fee, right? And then that goes a long way. But
there's also film schools. I would say research local film schools that may have a rental, process.
And then also
for local filmmakers.
Your crew, if they don't have the equipment, but they might know somebody else. I've worked on a project and we needed a dolly, and this one rental place was charging X amount. But our DP had a friend and was gonna like let us use their dolly for like $50 that whole day.
That was nice.
So it's just you have to have those discussions with your crew. And then also, this is stuff that you're doing on the front end, right? Because you don't want to make yourself crazy with all this stuff when you're in principal, right? Like, dolly, where dolly? I didn't know we needed one. Like, come on. So you want to identify that. But also, this is one thing that I've learned as with each project, and that's being strategic. Being strategic about location and being strategery about sponsorships.
So let's talk locations real quick, because I remember when we were shooting Stages, we were very much like, Stages the web series. We were like, where are we going? Like, we can't use my apartment. Like, initially my first thing was, we can't use my apartment because it's so loud, and but it's on a major throughway. But we also were like, we're gonna have to make it work because we on a tight budget, right? So it's finding places where you can get the most out of the money.
I know.
And
I'm laughing because we used the basement of the apartment like for multiple scenes.
So our EP in her apartment building, she was like, hey, there's this room in the basement. I think we can use it. And it was free. God bless. We used that room. First of all, the creativity it took to use the same room and shoot many scenes in one room, but design that space in a way where you wouldn't know that we were in the same room.
And so,
shout out to us.
The crew of Stages were magnificent, and it got to the point where we were about to shoot another one, and I knew like there was no way that we could.
We've used every angle in that.
Every angle. And I'm thinking this, right? There's no way that we could shoot another scene in there. And my DP pulls me in the hall, grabs me and takes me in the hallway and is just like, Annette, we cannot shoot another scene in here. And so
We took it out in the hallway.
We took it in the hallway.
We were like, all right, what can we come up with? And we took it in the hallway and had other scenes. Like that's it. Like it's the flexibility
that's all you got, have, right?
Because when we wrote Stages, we wrote it as if we had solid $150,000 budget. We're going to be inside, outside, like public places, and do all these things. And the reality of it was like, we got $13,000.
We wrote it like Shonda Rhimes herself commissioned us to record this entire series.
Yes. So,
I mean, we had location here, location there, but I give us a high five because we were very strategic.
We were
about location.
And we did end up getting an Airbnb. So we did shoot at an Airbnb.
Yeah, that was great.
That was great because what was great, like we had multiple places in this house where we could we could shoot. So that was great. And I think that was the only money we spent because we also had a bakery that we threw.
Oh my God.
Through our EP, like, people that you know.
Kia's Cakes
in
allowed
Lansdowne.
us to use her bakery for, what was it, 2 days? We had a 2-day shoot there.
No,
right?
It was 1 day. It was a Sunday because she was closed.
Oh, so it was a Sunday. Oh, yeah, and then we used her husband's
place across the street for free.
Yo. Strategery. I'm
saying reach out to friends, family, whoever you know that you could potentially use that location for free.
Yes. And then also like for locations, right? So cut those costs. Sponsorships for like, I worked on this one, I worked on a few. Mm-hmm. And they would identify different brands, small businesses that aligned with whatever the project was to either give money or cater.
Okay.
So one particular thing, we had Wawa breakfast.
Fully sponsored.
Nice. And then this Ethiopian place sponsored lunch for the 3 days. And then we had a pizza place. Another particular one where the co-op Weaver's Way.
That's a great co-op.
Breakfast and lunch.
That's a great co-op. So on this project, the writer director, they like, did she go out and find these sponsorships?
No. So
how did that work?
So I came on as a UPM, and I was with the producer, and we just went and identified these places.
Okay.
And we sent letters and we made calls to get that money. Yeah.
See, I never even considered that as being an option until you told me about that project that you worked on, and I was like, "Oh my God!"
Yeah.
That is so wonderful that you can potentially, in reaching out to these various resources, and saying, "Hey, I'm shooting this film. I would love for you to be a part of it. Would you be interested in sponsoring? Blah 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 blah." And I mean,
and then you entice them that at the end, they get credit, and then on your social media or your newsletter, you highlight their name.
Wow.
And a lot of these places really do have money set aside
for like community.
For community, so you have to like tie that stuff in. And it's just really good, especially if you're using like grants and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, I find that avenue, I think you have a better chance of even getting one or two to say yes.
Yeah.
Than the grant process.
Oh my God. Yeah.
The grant process.
That's not even, your no might not come for 3-4 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But at least with this, for these like quick sponsorships, it's pretty much immediate.
Yeah.
Right?
You'll know, and then you can move on to somebody new.
Because if you're going to like a grocery store, your local grocery store, to see if they could donate some like bagels and cream cheese, that's a tax write-off for them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, they're not going to say no. If they do, then you're not going to shop there. They're going to give you some bagels, right? And you're going to stretch that. So it's more immediate and it's in real time.
Yeah.
Grant writing is that's another beast.
It is.
Yeah. So
I think we
so number 3 is be strategic, because I know we stayed on there for location and also sponsorship.
Yeah.
Tax incentives.
I feel like tax incentives is great if it's a much larger production.
Yeah.
Here in Philly, I know the Philadelphia Film Office does a lot with larger productions because of the tax incentives. Atlanta has become a hub because of the tax incentives for filmmaking, right?
Yeah, but that's like are we talking about, because I think the tax incentives really start at like $1 million. Right?
Yeah, I mean, and we talked about this in the previous podcast of how they, independent productions can be at the low millions. And I'm like, indie is true indie is folks like us who are like, I maybe got 10, 15,000 to do this. Right.
Yeah. But let's 30, make it happen. Let's make it happen.
But let's make it happen. So it is what it is. But I think we gave some really good.
Yeah. I mean, and number 5.
Strategic.
Yeah. And number 5 is always, plan for post.
Oh, always.
Right?
Always.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah. If you never listen to anything that we say, plan for post.
Done. Okay.
That was fine.
Yep. All right.
5th.
1, 2, 3, 4. 5th. Love you, Dave Chappelle. Chappelle Show. All right, y'all.
All right, so we're going to take a break.
And we'll be back.
I'm going to sip on some of this coffee, and we'll be back in the sack.
All right. I think we gave some solid tips on essential budgeting. That's what I like to call it. It's just essential things.
I know it's not sexy, but
it is when you have that money and you're just like, okay, now I can breathe and really just go shoot, right? Like,
and your project gets done.
And your project
gets completed, right? And you have something to show. That's when it gets sexy. That's when it gets sexy. But
sexy can I? Yeah. I don't know why that popped into my head. But I just want to say that proper planning and creative problem solving, because it really takes that proper planning and creative problem solving.
I agree.
Will help you each and every time when you're filming.
Most definitely. And also, don't be the smartest person in the room.
Don't be that guy.
Yeah. Telling you.
Don't be that guy.
And if you are, then get in another room where people know more about whatever it is that you're doing, because it's collaborative and you really want your crew, although you are making the decisions, the buck does stop with you, but you still need your crew to add some of that flavor, like saving on equipment, being strategic with locations, that type of thing, planning for post. So, don't forget to like and subscribe. Shout out to the 10 subscribers that we have. 10.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
And then we're going to end this, but let me tell you something. There are some amazing people out there who watched us and said, you know what? Y'all crazy. We like it. I like it. I'm hitting that button because I want to help you guys grow and see what other, shenanigans and tomfoolery you can get into. So I just want to give a special shout out to our wonderful, wonderful subscribers.
Yes.
Thank you for believing in a channel that just started.
Yeah. Yeah, this isn't for the faint of heart, most definitely. But we appreciate every single one of you, and we just wanted to give you all a shout out.
Definitely.
And it was just so great. So yay, all
Yay,
the
team.
newbie subscribers. We appreciate it. So I think that's it. All right. Well, that's a wrap. See you next time. Be great, everyone.